Greetings everyone, Road Contractor here. Just wanted to do another office video and talk about the things that I've been talking about lately, workout, diet. And then I also said in my last video that I wanted to touch on some of the subjects outside of those, normally what I would normally talk about, which is my life and my contracting, my career, what I've been doing. And I have been doing this for the past 17 and a half years. In May, I will hit 18 years. Overseas contracting. I've been here the entire time. I've been here for the duration of these conflicts, these wars that we've had in Afghanistan and in Iraq. So I'm going to start with that. I'm going to start talking about that. And I spoke a little bit about some of the issues that I had and that I've had to deal with over the years with anger and where I may have developed that, where it may have started. And I don't want to put myself in a PTSD category. I'm not going to. I will say that the career that I had before, and like I said, I almost did this for 10 years. I was working in corrections in the state of Texas, adult male, maximum security. I'll talk about that a little bit later. But they have the highest rate of PTSD. Now, I don't think that PTSD, so I just want to do a quick clarification on what it was I was saying right here. I'm breaking into the middle of this video just to say what I wanted to say on PTSD is that I don't think that it is solely and all-encompassing just people who have been in those war situations or who have had near-death experiences. I think PTSD is so much more, and I think you can be in situations where on a constant daily basis you're in some sort of battle, a personal battle, a battle at work, a battle in your mind, and that can create a PTSD. And it's not necessarily you not being able to function in society and dealing with other people. It's like in my case, and again, I don't want to say like, I was PTSD this whole time. I have been. I really don't throw myself in that category, but I did have anger issues. And I think those anger issues were a result of my environment of working in the places I did in corrections for over almost 10 years, and then going out and putting myself in a situation where everybody was under a lot of stress and everybody was kind of at each other's, not, I want to say throat, but we were on each other's nerves all the time. So it just, to me, I think PTSD encompasses a lot, and a lot of people need to realize that it's more than just like you're sitting at home and you just can't get out because you can't be around people, you can't function. The truth is, you can probably be around people a lot. You probably may see people as an enemy, maybe you see people as threats, maybe you just see people as not understanding you, and nobody's ever going to understand you, and you can't function well in society. Maybe you can, but you keep all this stuff locked up inside, and it just manifests itself in so many different ways. Anxiety attacks, which I've had, and I've had to deal with that, and it's very, very tough. And it's tough when other people sit and they don't understand, because that amplifies your feelings. And like if you're angry and you're mad and you're trying to hold back, you're trying to keep them from seeing this side of you, and you're just boiling, and it's coming out, they're seeing a little bit, and it just starts to make you just shake all over. You just want to just grab everything and just smash it all over the ground, tear the whole room up, burn the house down, and just go out on this big rampage. But you're holding it all in, and they see that, and they're just like, what's wrong with you? You got nerve disorder? Are you weak? What's wrong? Are you scared? Do I intimidate you? They don't know. They don't understand. You have to tell yourself that. And as I got older, I began to realize maybe I should not look at everything as a threat or something that I could get angry about. Most of the stuff that I was thinking about that was making me mad, I was just thinking about it in my head, wasn't even coming true. Whether they actually felt that way or thought that way, and I had no idea, because I was just thinking stuff in my mind, letting my mind run wild and think, this person is just wanting to start trouble with me. That's pretty much the extent of every day for a long time. This person's wanting to start trouble with me. This person wants to start trouble with me. And this person wants to start trouble with me. So I'm going to start trouble with everybody. And it took a long time to break myself out of that. And like I said, replacing all that negative energy with being more positive. And even just talking about this has helped tremendously. So just wanted to put that out, a little clarification. I talk a lot, and I tend to start on a subject and then kind of peter off, and then I don't really go back to it and explain myself or get detailed, you know. But I do think that PTSD is real. I do very much think that it is a lot of different things, and it manifests itself in a lot of different things. So this is my story and how I've dealt with not so much PTSD, but I think some of the anger issues that I had coming out of some of the work that I chose to do in my life over the years. So good day, everybody. Back to the video. The highest rate of PTSD. Now, I don't think that PTSD means like you have a hard time dealing with horrific events in your life that was near death, you know, experiences, and you somehow have developed this way that is hard for you to I don't know how to properly say it, I guess to function properly in society amongst other people, socially, you know. Drinking my hot tea. I love hot tea with some honey in it. But my anger issues that I think that I developed, you know, and I don't think that's necessarily PTSD. I think that is something that it was, you know, you do a job like that for like 10 years and you're not going to come out straight. And I did it on some of the worst prisons, not only in the state of Texas. They're listed as some of the worst prisons in probably the United States. You know, they're up there. McConnell, Livingston unit that used to be Terrell, I worked there. It's now called Pulaski. I worked the Ferguson unit, which is the old red brick farm. Those are some what they call gladiator farms. There's a lot of fighting. There was any time of day, throughout the day, you could get down at the drop of a dime, and I'd have to. And I worked general population. I started off in administrative segregation. I probably should have stuck with that, but I did like that in the beginning. I thought that was the way to go, that to be in administrative segregation was where it was at. That's where your bosses were, you know, until I went to general population. When I went to Gen Pop, that changed my whole attitude. You know, you were there in front of the inmates. That's the difference between general population and administrative segregation. In segregation, they're segregated 24 hours a day from the rest of the population. So you have inmates that stay locked up all the time, and you only deal with them when they're locked up. So if you go out into general population and you're dealing with, on a cell block, you know, anywhere from 150 to 200 inmates, and you're by yourself. Anything you say, anything you do, everything you do, they're watching you, they're studying you. And if you are not a real person, if you are not the type of person that means what you say when you say it, and if you don't back it up, you know, they're gonna walk all over you. They're gonna see you as this fraud, this fake, you know, out there trying to do a job completely out of your element, and you don't need to be there. So I did, you know, it was a lot that I learned and I gained from that, and I probably should have left after a couple of years, but I stayed with it. I think I did about 8.5 years. It could have been 9, I don't know. I'd have to really think back and go and find, you know, when I started. I don't even know. But it was more than 8, less than 9, I think. More than 8, less than 9. So not quite a decade, but it was definitely getting there. But to go back to what I originally started to talk about was the duration of these wars that I've been out here. So in March of 2003, 2 years, or say a year and no, it's almost 2 years. Almost 2 years after 9/11, we invaded Iraq, March of 2003. I don't even gotta look that up. I know exactly when we did it. It stuck with me. March of 2003, we invaded Iraq, the United States. In May of 2003, I was on a plane headed to Afghanistan. Now, when I got to Afghanistan, back in 2003, United States military had been there since '01. We were attacked in October. I think in November they were boots on ground in Afghanistan. And then a full year went by. I think they ran that campaign. If I can remember correctly, some of the documents I've seen, documentaries I've seen, or people talking about those early days when we first invaded. That campaign to get rid of the Taliban, and at least to move them out of Afghanistan and to put bin Laden on the run, lasted about 3 months. And then it turned into an occupation. And it was occupation from that point going forward after the end of the original campaign. I remember George Bush announcing an end to the wars, or at least to the Iraq War. I don't really remember an announcement to an end of any Afghanistan campaign. Just that campaign lasted about 90 days, and then it became an occupation. And not long after that, they started sending contractors into Afghanistan by the hundreds, and then it became the thousands. And I remember going through CRC, which is, we all go through CRC, whether you're a civilian or if you're military, and that's Combat Readiness. Combat Readiness Center is what it is. You just go through, get your physicals, they look you over, and you do all your certifications, and then they send you on. When I went through KBR's CRC in Houston, Texas, and we stayed at the Wyndham Hotel down there, and we did everything right out of that hotel. They had it all set up. Took our pictures for our passports, and received our passports in like 3 days. I think it was 3, it might have been 2. It was really fast. It's like, here's your packet, fill it out, get your picture taken. 2 days later, you got a passport in your hand. It was just ridiculous. They were running people through there. And I want to say I went through with 600 people. Every Sunday, a new 600 people would arrive. 600 people were going out. You were getting on a bus, they were taking you to the airport, and they were flying everybody over to, oh gosh, where did we go? Back a long time ago, we used to all go into Dubai and hang out. Oh, we used to go into Uzbekistan. That's where we started off at, Uzbekistan. So in order for anybody to remember K2 in Uzbekistan, you got to go way back. And I know so many contractors that talk about being over here back in the day. Oh, I've been over here since 2010. I've been over here since 2008. This is back in the day. That ain't back in the day. Back in the day was 2003, and even before that, 2001 to 2003. I think K2 lasted up until about 2005 before the Uzbeks finally closed it down and kicked everybody out. But that was some fun times going into Uzbekistan. And everybody was coming in, we were all working for KBR, so everybody was coming out of either Louisiana or Killeen, Texas for some reason, and I was right out of Killeen, Texas. I didn't originally start off there. We were living in Huntsville, my wife and me and our little girl. Later on, her family's from Killeen, but when we got enough money and we got the house and we got the car and we moved, she moved to Killeen so she could be close to her family. So we had a lot of ties there to Killeen, or the Killeen area. We lived in Cove, and I like that area. I think it's pretty nice. I have a lot of fun there. I have a lot of good memories there. But that was how it all started. Everybody flew commercially. I think we landed in Rome. We spent a little bit of time there, and then we got on Uzbek Airlines in Italy, and we went to Uzbekistan and landed in Uzbekistan. On those airlines are just bad. I mean, Uzbek, they're a very poor country. They only allow their aircraft and their airline to enter and exit their country. At least they did back then. And you would look at these planes and think, like, golly, is this thing gonna even make it? And well, we went, and then you spent a little bit of time in the capital, which was Tashkent, and then you would get on a bus or a convoy, and then they would take you out to the K2 base. And the K2 base was I don't remember. I remember it was a long drive, but I don't remember how long of a drive it was. But we would go pretty much to the border. It was a little area called Karshi in Uzbekistan, and you would stay there, and it was an airfield. And a little interesting story. I had been in and out of Afghanistan, and I had done a year. I did a vacation even, and made my way back. And on my way back, they had a coffee shop there, which was super exciting because Starbucks was kind of really getting big at the time, and there were, you definitely had heard the name. You saw a lot of the Starbucks places popping up. They were popping up everywhere. We were getting them in Texas, but mostly to the bigger cities. And before it is the way it is now, where you can just turn your head and there's a Starbucks. There's a Starbucks on every corner. But back then there wasn't as many, but it was definitely getting big. Well, they had a coffee shop there. And for those contractors who all remember, and I think this company had been around probably before all this, but they really came on strong. It was a green beans, and that was just amazing. I didn't even know how to order coffee. So to land in Uzbekistan, and they say, oh, there's a coffee shop over there, and it's open 24 hours a day. And I was like, well, what do we get? You know, and you don't want to go in and order just a coffee. You know, what are you going to do? You're going to be one of those guys that goes in and just have black coffee. I do now. That's exactly how I am. What kind of coffee you want? House, black. Thank you. That's it. Sometimes they have me pour it. They don't even pour it for me. They'll just give me the cup. Here you go. It's over there. I don't know if they feel sorry for me. Might not even charge me sometimes, but I went in and I said, I just knew latte and cappuccino. So I said latte cappuccino. And they know what I was ordering. You know, what kind of, what do you got? Mocha? Mocha's chocolate, I know. Okay, so I have a mocha latte cappuccino. You know, and then they said grande, verde, whatever. And I said a medium. I didn't know. I had no idea. None of us did. And we learned how to order like a true coffee connoisseur from Seattle, you know, out in the middle of some nowhere place, Uzbekistan. A lot of fun, you know. As a matter of fact, in Karshi, it's just farm place. It's farm markets, there's a lot of farm animals. When you land in Uzbekistan and you go to Karshi, you get off the bus in Karshi, and it smells like goats there all over the place. It just smells like you're in a barn. The whole country smells like that, or at least that whole area. But we would fly in and out from K2, from Karshi, in and out of Afghanistan. So from Uzbekistan, it sits right on top of Afghanistan. Afghanistan's here, Iran, Pakistan, India is somewhere down off over there on the other side of Pakistan. So it's kind of surrounded by Pakistan. Afghanistan is Pakistan, Uzbekistan, and Iran. And Uzbek is here, Afghanistan is here. So we would drive from, like, we'd land in the middle in Tashkent and drive all the way down to the border. That was where Karshi was, that's where K2 was, and then we would fly into Afghanistan. Everybody flew into Bagram. You'd spend a week or so there, going through more paperwork, and then you'd get your assignment to whatever base you were going to. And back then, for me, it was Kandahar. And also for those who were down there during that time, who don't remember, we didn't have a lot of bases back then. Salerno, all the FOBs, FOB really kind of wasn't even a word. You know, we had 3 bases back then, 3 main bases. It was K1, K2, and K3. K1 was Kabul, K2 was Bagram, and K3 was Kandahar. And I worked on K3. And while I was out there, they started opening up these smaller FOBs, like Salerno, and then you started hearing about stuff out west in Helmand. I left there after a year. I got a job in Qatar. I was working security. I did ECP security for DynCorp, and I just was looking to get into a place that was not in the desert, because being out there, and at that time it was really slow. It was like 03, there was not a lot going on in Afghanistan. We didn't think we were going to be out there much longer at all. We'd already been out there for a year, and it did start to expand. A lot of people started to come out there, but we were like, there's nothing going on. Are we really even going to you know, stay out? How long are we going to be here? How long do wars last? You know, nobody knew back then, you know, and it just seemed like that this was that kind of the end of it. So I ended up going to work in Qatar, working ECP at Camp Asalea, working armed security. So we had a M16. We had the big old long, old-fashioned tiny M16. They use M4s now. They're a lot smaller, a lot lighter. But we had those M16s, and we had 9mm also. And we would just do car checks all day long. They'd come in, you check IDs, look under their hood, look inside their vehicle, look through their bags, let them go in. They had to have proper identification, and their vehicle had to be clear of any contraband. And then you let them on base. For those of you that don't know, in Qatar, and specifically Asalea is like CENTCOM for the Middle East. That's a central command base. So a lot of bigwigs back then were coming in and out of that base. You know, of course, you didn't ever stop and talk to them. They would just roll in and roll out. And when I say bigwigs, I mean like Department of State people and national security advisors, all the big people. You know, who was it back then? Colin Powell and probably Donald Rumsfeld. You know, back then. I'm sure it came in and out, but I know for sure Colin Powell did, because they'd announced that when Colin Powell was coming on the base. You know, everybody had to be on their P's and Q's, you know. Love hot tea with honey. But I did that for 3 months. It didn't pay a lot, but it was a way for me to get my foot in the door into those types of contracts, which was we had people that were leaving Afghanistan, and they were sending pictures back to us, and they're like, look where we're living. We got an apartment, we got a beautiful pool, you know, we're hanging out in town, and we're drinking beers. And I was like, we're out here in the middle of the desert doing nothing, you know. And we were always arguing, always at each other's throats, everybody getting on everybody's nerves, you know. And people, you know, you're always, as contractors, you're looking for your next vacation. As a military personnel, our military counterparts, they're looking to get the hell out of here and go home. You know, we're trying to get to our vacation and the next vacation. I think back then we were taking vacations every 4 months. They gave you MWRs, LWAPs in between. If you wanted to take one, you could take a LWAP in between. You could go fly back to Uzbekistan for 3 days unpaid, come back. But it usually took about 9 days to get out, get down there, spend your 3 days on your dime, and then 3 days to get back to your base before you finally started getting paid. Because they wouldn't pay you until you arrived to your base. Then you can start getting paid. That's just the way it was back then. So I leave Afghanistan because it was kind of fun. It was neat. It was something different. It was kind of adventurous. I'd never been in any type of environment like that. So stepping off the plane was something new to me. I'm from Texas, so I'm used to heat. But man, when I stepped off the plane over there, I thought, my God, that was heat that I've never felt before in my life. When I stepped off the plane in Qatar, it was even worse because they were humid and hot. They had the best of both worlds. But I did do armed security, ECP security, static security at Camp Asalea. I did that for 3 months. And then I got a job working for ITT in Kuwait. So while I was in Qatar, like I said, I was working in security, so I wasn't making a lot of money like I was when I was in Afghanistan. And I was on the computer every day, touching up my resume, just trying to find anything I could to get out of there. Back then, you could be on a contract, find another company right over here, walk right across the street, start working for them. That's the way it worked. You could just go bounce around. It didn't matter, you know. I even went unemployed overseas, living unemployed and homeless for the most. I was staying with friends while I was looking for my next job. As a matter of fact, in Qatar, I did that very thing. I've done it twice. Been unemployed and almost homeless overseas. Homeless, not like I was living on the street. I just didn't have my own place. So I was staying with friends. But I also went unemployed when a contract had ended. I flew back to the Philippines. This is before I got married. And I rented an apartment and just stayed there. You know, I rented an apartment for like 3 months. I ended up staying there for about a month and a half, and then I left. I got another job and I was gone. But nothing like being unemployed and homeless overseas, man. You know. But I was making it, you know. and I was surviving, and I was figuring out how to word resumes so that you could look through the requirements and just pull all those keywords and just plug them in your resume. Because what they'll do is they'll scan your resume and they'll pop hot on that particular resume because it has keywords they're looking for. So if you put those keywords in there, and you have to figure out what they are, and you learn this from other contractors who have been doing it and other contractors before them. So I was able to get jobs like that in my field, which was security and maintenance, and that was basically it. And I got a job, actually went to Qatar in maintenance, but because I also had security, I started off for the first 3 months in Kuwait. I'm sorry, leaving Qatar and going to Kuwait. I got a job as a driver is what I was. I was a heavy equipment operator. So it was just a 10K forklift, and then it ended up advancing into more. I did get trained on quite a few different vehicles, including an M1 Abrams, Bradley's, you name it. I was licensed on everything across the board. By the time it was all said and done, I spent about 3 years on that contract in Kuwait. But I started off for the first 3 months working in security. Just security. So it was unarmed. It was just plain clothes security. We just stood there, checked IDs, make sure everybody coming in and off the compound was ITT. Because on each base is segregated into different compounds. We were ITT, and so our maintenance bay had to be segregated. When that surge contract ended and we went to a hard contract, they came back and said, okay, you were originally hired as a heavy equipment operator, so we're moving you over into movement. So I went to movement, and I did that for probably the next 3 years. I don't exactly remember how long I was on there, but roughly 3 years, maybe 2.5, maybe 3 years. But finished that contract off, and then went to work for a company called Combat Support Associates, CSA, which people who worked overseas and worked in Kuwait specifically know CSA. Probably have a lot of bad things to say about it. Either they did not work for them and they just like, well, they pay low. Well, I'll tell you right now, I made $90,000 a year working for them in Kuwait. $90,000 a year, I could make a lot more, and I have made a lot more working overseas. But when you're making 90 a year, that's still good money. And that was a good contract, and I liked working over there. I might have been making less than some of the other bigger contracts, but they treated you so good. I always thought CSA was one of the best companies I've ever worked for, and that I've enjoyed working for. And if I could go back and not take it for granted, I'd like to do that. I'd like to be able to go back and do that again, but they're gone. They've dissolved that company. It no longer exists. But I did that for, I did that for about 3 years as well, and really enjoyed it. As a matter of fact, when I took that job, I was just looking to stay over there to get something else, to find some, and I thought, that's a quick job, I can take it. I'll be there probably a month or 2, maybe 3 tops, and I'll find something else and I'll be gone. But they treated me so good, I hung around and I stayed, and I didn't even put in for other jobs. I had stopped applying for jobs the entire 3 years I was there. And I did get a call. I got a call back from ITT, and I got a call from LSI, as a matter of fact, in Iraq. And both times I was like, well, I'm not really interested. I just kind of want to see where this goes. I ended up becoming a senior QA for the commercial leased vehicles. And what we would do is the military leased a lot of vehicles from downtown. So we would go down to these vendors, get their vehicles, have them brought to the base, usually by their drivers, and then we would inspect all the vehicles to make sure they were good. You really want to look at their vehicles. They say they're good, but they work on their own vehicles. So, hey, are all the lug nuts tight? Does it have a spare tire? Does the engine work? Is it leaking oil? You don't want to leave some soldier that signed out him and his crew might have signed out a pickup, and there's a major oil leak. They pick it up from a vendor, because vendors don't care. They just want the money. This is in Kuwait. And then you're driving hours to get to the next base. Even though Kuwait's a very small country, it takes hours to get from AJ to Buring. So they could be on a highway out in the middle of nowhere, blow a tire because the wheels are bad, or the engine blows because it's leaking so much oil. You want to look all that over and make sure this is a good vehicle, and that we can't issue this to the military. And then the military will come along and say, okay, we'll take a vehicle. They'll do an inspection, look for damage. you know, and then when they turn it in, they'll do another inspection, look for damage, and we'll do an inspection, look for damage, and anything that comes up, you know, we'll document it, and we'll send that down to the vendor to get fixed. And the military paid a lot of money for those vehicles. Well, anyway, I was senior QA on that contract. So that contract came to an end, and I just didn't get picked up by the new company coming in to take it over, which was ITT. They took very few Americans. They hired mostly third country nationals, which we call TCNs. So TCNs basically ran the whole contract with a few Americans in place to supervise over everything. So I wasn't picked up in that because my little section that I had was only going to have one supervisor that covered multiple, the logistics, the issuing, and the inspection portion of it, the maintenance side of it. So there was no need to have a senior there. So I was looking for a job. That one came to an end in 2011. We shut it down, liquidated everything, handed over all that we needed to hand over to the incoming company, and then we were gone. And that's when I spent 3 months living in the Philippines, homeless. But, you know, I had money. You know, I had money in the bank, so I was happy. And I just drank a lot, you know. It was a nice month. But ended up going back to work. After that, I went back to Afghanistan. So AECOM developed a new company called AC First that they put in Afghanistan. So there was a period there where I did some crappy companies. But again, they treated me good. If you were promised it, you got it with AC First, you know. With all the other companies, they make some promises, they don't deliver, or they'll tell you they're giving you this, and then they just deny you once you get there. I mean, it's crazy. But AECOM was always fair. They always delivered. They always did what they said they were going to do. And they took care of their employees too, and I really appreciated that. Because they know how to run contracts, and contracts are written by people that are way above everybody's pay grade that's out there. So when you had some new commander that came in, and he was like, these guys are taking 1 hour lunch breaks, they're going to stop all that. It's 15 minutes. You know, there ain't no 15-minute lunch breaks. There's 1 hour lunch breaks. It's in the contract. That's what AECOM signed, to have their guys take 1 hour lunch breaks. And you would see a lot of that go back and forth. Whereas a lot of companies would give in and say, okay, we'll do that. And that puts a strain on their workers. You know, AECOM, nope, that's not what we signed. That's not what we're doing, you know. And of course they always won, because the people that signed those contracts are back in the United States. They're back at Red River. These are high ranking officials. Like I said, they're above everybody's pay grade. It doesn't matter if you're a captain or a lieutenant colonel or some bigwig DA civilian on ground in Afghanistan. The contract was signed way before you got out here, way before any of us got out here, you know? And they're going to abide by that. They're going to do what they got to do. And like I said, you do hear a lot of complaints about AECOM, but AECOM delivered. They delivered all the time, and they continue to deliver. They're even out there right now. I liked them. When I finished off, I did 1 year out there with AC First. And then I went to a company, I can't even say all these companies' names. These are years ago, and these are companies that are dissolved. So now I ended up going to work for another company. I kind of really need to get off of talking about this, because now I'll be putting myself in a liable issue where I'll be saying companies' names that I had worked for in the past, and I can't do that. So I'll say that the companies that I've worked for since, I've really enjoyed also, and they've been very good to me, and they've taken care of me. And one of the companies that I'm still with today, I'm with a different company, but we are subbing under our prime, and our prime, I've worked for them for years, and I like all of them. I like that company. It's a great company, and I really want to go back to work for them in the future at some point. They pay really well, and I've enjoyed my time with them. And I've enjoyed my time with them as a subcontractor on another company. Even though I make even more money here, I still enjoy them. I like being around them, and I work hand in hand with them. They are a good company, but I'm not going to go into any names because I don't want to get in any trouble. So I'll just go over some of the stuff that I've done in places that I worked. I went back to Afghanistan and ended up working on not the bigger bases like Kandahar and Bagram or Kabul. I ended up going out to smaller bases, which are called FOBs. And those are your forward operating bases. So I worked out there for several years, embedded with Marines or Army with the motor pool, you know, working on their vehicles. And as a trainer / maintainer, so you're working hand in hand with them, or you're working when they're gone because they have missions to do, and you're fixing their vehicles, and you're making sure those vehicles get fixed right, and they're working on vehicles, and you're looking at their stuff, and you're going over stuff with them, you know, basically training as you go with them. And I did that for a few years, and then I ended up going out to even smaller bases. So you've got the main bases, you've got the forward operating bases, which are FOBs, and then you've got smaller bases, which are combat outpost COPs. And I worked on a couple of those. Those bases, I would say, groups are more tightly knit. You know, there's a lot of bickering that goes on back at the bigger bases where the flagpole is. Not so much at the FOBs, but a little bit, you know. But you would rather be at the FOB than you would be back at the main base, back at the big bases, you know, the flagpole bases. But at the COPs, everybody was tight. Everybody stuck together. That was much better, you know, much better. The food wasn't as good. It was a lot of MREs, meals ready to eat, and you got hit a lot more out there. So you were more likely to get rocketed or have a combat outpost just outright attacked, try to run over the wall. I've never been on a COP that had that happen, but I've been on plenty of them and FOBs that got rocketed in Afghanistan. And I spent many a night working in, or not working, but holed up in a bunker that we had, you know, just waiting for the all clear, and then finally you get it, and then you go back to your hooch. You know, I can remember many nights, you know, walking back to my room, because they're all blackout, which means there are no lights on in the middle of the night. And I would finish my work late at night sometimes. Sometimes I'd just be sitting down there watching movies. I'd finish my work and I didn't have much to do, so I'd sit down in the office, had good internet, and I'd watch movies. But then I got to walk back to my hooch, you know, and it'd be like 10 o'clock at night, 12 o'clock at night. And you can't see anything. You can't turn on a flashlight. That's not allowed. You can use a red light, but I didn't have one. And even with a red light, you can only see a foot or two in front of you. You can't see what's out there. You can't see what's coming over the berm. And I would think about that. It would cross my mind quite a bit. Like, what if I'm going to do if I'm walking back to the room one night and, you know, this place gets overrun, you know, or a rocket happens to be coming in. You know, I can't see what's going on, you know. But it's just something that weighs on your mind. Because you're way out there. You're far away from everything. This is what's on everybody's mind. You're far away from your family. You know, they don't know what's going on with you. You can't talk about it. And like I said in my last video, coming from corrections, probably coming out of that with maybe a lot of anger issues, and that I carried with me for a long time. And then going into an environment like that where everybody's kind of on edge, you know, and like I said, I'm not trying to put myself in this PTSD status. I'm not, and I don't believe that everybody has that effect just from being out here. I worked with a lot of soldiers that never left the wire just like I did. They just worked with me side by side, or they worked in the office, you know. And I've worked with war fighters also that constantly stayed outside the wire. But I think that I carried some of what I developed from working in a prison setting, to where when people would get on your nerves, you would just deal with it right there on the floor usually, you know, versus being in a civilian environment where you have to play nice, whether or not this person's being an asshole or not. You know, you have to be very careful with your words and your actions, and you just don't want to do something stupid and get yourself fired or get yourself in a lot of trouble unnecessarily. So you had to hold back, you had to tone it down, and people were still on edge. People could still be very crappy with you. You know, they were on edge. They wanted to go home. Like I said, every contractor's looking to get home. Maybe they're quitting and they're just ready to get the hell out of there and get home. every soldier out there is ready. They're just looking to finish off their deployment and go home. You know, so it was kind of an environment where everybody was just sort of be okay at one point and then nitpicking up the other and very angry, and you see heightened situations where it got pretty bad, and you'd see times where it was all really good and a lot of people were having a good time. There was a lot of back and forth emotionally. So I think that like I was saying in my last video, that I had a lot of negative energy inside of me, and I believe that what is inside of you emit what's inside of you. Whether you try to display something different or not, you're going to emit some sort of persona, and it might be a negative one. And if you're coming across somebody else that's negative, you think about that. Immediately, you judge the person by looking at them. The look on their face, the way they're talking, the way they're moving. This person's mad, they're trying to be rude to me, and they're just upset about anything. They don't know. They don't know what you're upset about. You don't know what they're upset about. Like I said, it can be two negative energy fields walking towards each other, crossing each other's paths, and it does not end well. It does not bode well for a working relationship. And holding that in year over year over year over year. I've been at this for almost 18 years now. I've been doing this. And holding in so much and not really having an outlet other than working out. I have worked out all these years, even if I didn't really keep it together real well, and I took a lot of months off at the time, and I did gain weight. If you look on my Facebook page, you'll see I had periods where it was not good, and then there was, especially now in my mid-30s, I was in great shape. I wish I could get back to that, where not only was I really fit, and I feel like I've gotten there a lot. If you look at my pictures on Facebook of where I'm at today, I was like that in my 30s, only I was much tighter. And I'm 48 now, almost 50, so I've trimmed up a lot. I brought a lot of that back, but I'm not nearly as tight as I used to be. Of course, you're a lot younger. Your muscle tone's a lot more developed. Now it's more sort of saggy. But it was. I think that I emitted some negative energy over the years, and then over the years, it's gotten actually worse. It's carried on worse and worse, and it comes out in different ways. It can come out in you just snap and say something really rude to somebody that you didn't really mean, or you are trying so hard to keep your cool that you're now developed a shake, because you're trying not to lose your temper and just go batshit crazy and let everybody see really what a screwed up person you are. I dealt with all that, and I always felt like, maybe, doing the exercise was a sort of a relief, but I didn't know how to apply it. I didn't know how to apply a workout to a lifestyle to help find a release, of energy. And it was sort of like, okay, I'm mad, I'm uptight, bam, workout, I'm done, all right, and then I go back to that tense environment, okay, I'm gonna work out and bam, I'm done. Now I'm back to that tense environment. Well, how do you carry it with you from the gym to your life, to what you're doing every day, day in and day out at work, where you gotta put that positive energy in you so much that it pushes out all the negative, and that you're emitting positivity now. You're emitting positive. People around you walk up and immediately get a smile. They get a smile. They're not threatened by you. They're not looking at you as, are you mad? Are you pissed? Are you being rude to me for some reason? Maybe they're mad and they're like that, and they're going to be that way towards you, but you don't take it that way. So the way I have coupled the diet, the way I eat, along with the workouts, that was the key. That was the ingredient that was missing. It was the right diet. It was the right food. It was the way in which I eat with the workout. And it gave me the extra energy, the extra endurance, the extra stamina to go the extra mile, to feel better. It's also the goal setting. So you have to have both. You can't just have one and not the other. You have to have it all. It has to be a complete package. So I have to do the workouts. I have to do the eating right. I have to do the right calorie intake. And I also have to have that goal setting that I've talked about so much. The goal setting is key too, because that starts to embed a positive energy in you that you carry with you through the rest of the day. I woke up this morning, I wanted to go on a run. I did it. I also wanted to do calisthenics. I did it. I also wanted to do the weight. I did it. You know, I wanted to come in and complete this job, this task today. I did it. Every step of the way, there should be a goal. And you don't have to go find those goals. You don't have to go out there and constantly search. Believe me, there's plenty out there. They're going to come to you. And you'll start completing those goals. And think about that. When you've started your day off with the exercise, and you've completed that exercise, and you feel so much better about yourself for having completed an entire exercise that morning, showered and gone to work, feeling good, cup of coffee in hand. You're striding into the office. You're not dragging into the office. You've already done it all. You're gonna go knock out some more goals. You feel good. And you're putting that out to everybody. You're putting that out all around you all the time. That's how you start your day off. And it's very simple to see the results in you, makes you feel better, more positive energy coming back. So it is starting your day off with a calorie deficit. It is eating those meals every 6 hours. And there's a lot of literature you can read on it's not good to go 6 hours, or it's better to go 6 hours, or some people do fasting where they fast for an entire day and then eat the next day, or they'll eat 2 hours out of the day. There's studies on that. I mean, they one after another. But I'm telling you, what I've done, what works for me and what I like, isn't fasting, because fasting has got to be hard. It's hard to go 6 hours. I feel that. That's part of the workout. I'm in a calorie deficit that morning. I'm going to lunch. I'm going to go 6 hours, and I'm hungry. You know, I couldn't imagine eating 2 hours and then not eating the rest of the day until that next day. I can eat for those 2 hours. You eat anything you want, but you got to fast 22 hours long. I mean, come on. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to eat 3 meals. I'm going to space those out. Calorie deficit, starting off my day with a nice workout, a nice simple breakfast. I'm not going to starve myself, but I'm going to keep it simple, right? 6 hours later, I'll meet my lunch. 6 hours later, I'll meet my dinner, and I'm not going to overdo those meals. I'm going to eat enough to fill me up, but not going to make me full. And I'm not going to waste my food on junk food. Not all the time. And you've heard me say a lot, I do eat hot dogs, I do eat pizza, I eat whatever, you know, hamburgers. You know, today, it's Columbus Day. I went into the galley over here, and they were serving like sort of a Philly steak and cheese. You had to make your own. So they gave you the bread, they gave you the meat, and you had sauteed onions and peppers. That's all it was, and French fries. There was no other choice. So that's what I ate, you know. But it's okay. I went that 6 hours. I've worked out this morning. I started off with the calorie deficit. I had a very nice lunch. I didn't overeat at that point. I waited 6 hours. Now I'm eating my dinner. But the only choice I got is a chili steak and cheese. I left the cheese off, and I put steak sauce over the meat, and then I put my sauteed onions on there. So it's not like I really, you know, indulged, but it was good. And it was, you know, the roll, the bread itself is quite a lot of carbs, probably more carbs than I normally eat in the evenings. But I have been I'm always doing research, and I've read that, you know, too much protein can be bad too. So you don't ever even want to overdo it on protein. I don't think there's if you overdo it on carbs, you're going to gain weight. If you overdo it on protein, you're actually going to gain weight. You know, there's a lot of studies behind that. So you got to keep a balance. So I just kind of carb up in the mornings, and at lunch I have a few more. And in the evenings I try to do probably more protein. It's a more protein heavy diet, but it's not complete protein. There's carbs in there. I get what I get, what's available to me at the galley, you know. There's gonna be carbs in there, you know. And I eat right, and I eat right, and I eat right, and I might go, say, next weekend, and I might decide I just want to do something different. I'm gonna go get a pizza over here at Pizza Hut. There is a Pizza Hut on base, and I haven't been there for a very long time, and sometimes I do think about it, so I might go do that. You know, I can see myself getting a medium pizza, splitting it. You know, I could, you know, eat half at lunch and half at dinner. You know, just leave it sitting right here. But going back to the anger issues and how I dealt with it, I think a diet has a lot to do with it. I think working out and having some sort of outlet. As my videos go on, I want to do more types of exercises that aren't so strenuous. What I do is just what I've learned to do. I've sort of built up to it. You know, I was stranded for a few months downrange with nothing to do, and as I was doing my workouts and eating became more limited because of COVID, because of lack of food and we didn't have logistics, so nothing was coming in, so the food we had to make it spare, so they were kind of keeping it, doling it out sparingly, and it all started to really come together for me at that point, and I began to realize that it is a diet, and it's how you eat, and it's exercise. It's all up together, and the results happened almost overnight. It was phenomenal. And, if you get a chance, just go look through my page. I got a couple pictures in there that show before and after, and you'll see. And this isn't a joke. This isn't anything that I'm promoting or selling, you know. And I didn't get this idea off of, you know, buying some routine or program that somebody has out there that says follow this diet and this workout plan and you'll have these results. I'm just saying, for what I was forced into and what I was doing and what I saw and what has happened, that really happened to me. You know, this is really what's happening to me. And I'm 48 years old, and I'm back to, you know, feeling as good as I did when I was in my 30s, back to being very close to that shape. You can never truly be as good a shape as you were 10, 15 years ago, but you can get very, very close to it. You can be in your best shape for your age group, I'll say that. So I'm going to sign off here. I think this video went a little bit longer than any of my other videos, but I just wanted to put this out. You know, this is what I do. This is how I've achieved my goals. I've always wanted to lose weight and to maybe get more toned up. After I left my 30s, I didn't think that was ever going to happen again. So I thought I should just try and maintain as well as I could. And I was going through all the problems with the anger issues, and I was going through, you know, the weight gains, and it just wasn't good. It wasn't a very healthy lifestyle, you know, and I didn't go through life with a very positive energy inside of me like I do now. And I think I've gotten a lot better. And I think this year, 2020, as crazy as this year has been, has worked for me. So maybe that's probably, I'm so crazy and messed up that it took a crazy year like this for me to thrive, you know. But it is what it is, and I'm happy, and I'm hoping that I can continue this, and I'm going to definitely try. This is going to be my life from now on. And I've never actually stopped working out fully. I've been working out for years, since my 20s. I've been running since my 20s, and I'm 48, so well over 20 years. I've been a runner for a long time, off and on. There was times where I, you know, wouldn't run, then I would get back into working out and get feeling better, lose a little bit of weight, and I'd start running again, you know. And I'd go for 2-3 years running regularly, and then, you know, I might knock off 6 months to a year, you know, and then I'd go back to running again. I never really fully stopped. I was always getting out there and running. So anyway, everybody, thanks for watching, if you made it this far, and thanks for listening to me and hearing me out. There's gonna be a lot of videos like this on this channel, of just me talking and putting my thoughts out there, and also my life and what I'm doing, my work, you know. I'm currently in East Africa. I'm not going to give away my location, but I'm overseas a lot. All my work is overseas. I've been overseas for 18 years now, and I've seen a lot of different places. I've worked in a lot of different places, a lot of war zones, but also I've worked in some pretty decent places too. You know, I've been in some pretty fun places, and it's been an adventure. It's been fun, and looking forward to the next 18 years out here. And if I keep my shape and I keep my health, you know, it shouldn't be a problem, as long as a bomb don't fall on my head. Anyway, everybody take care. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with your workouts, and I wish everyone all the best. Stay healthy.